Run it back. Number 2. Let's go.
Regret it in a sense, where I called my mom and I apologized to her and I said, I'm so sorry, I think I killed your husband. But then there was also the sense of like, oh my gosh, I don't have to keep looking over my shoulders anymore. I don't have to live in this fear that he's going to actually come after me, because it already happened.
Like, actual killers, though. Like, people who have smoked people.
I would kill them again.
Damn!
3, 2.
What a crazy question to start with, bro. So all these people in this lineup have killed someone. That's out of pocket. Cuz right here, he look like Nightwolf from Mortal Kombat. Damn, bro. Damn.
2, 1, go.
Damn, strongly agree, strongly disagree. I'm interested on what's their story then.
Thomas Ogden was a beautiful person, and he was my friend, and what happened was an accident.
Damn.
And
I would... Ho. I feel like that, my fault, y'all. I feel like this about to be a dark video, so I do apologize if it's about to go out of pocket. I'm not going to say I thought it was fun. I was just thinking, like, in my mind, if I murked somebody, if I murked them, would I talk about what I would add, how would I answer the questions? My fault if it's out of pocket.
I would give anything to have him back. My name's Forrest, and I accidentally shot and killed my best friend when I was 23 years old.
Damn.
I felt like a shattered person.
Bro, to smoke as a man, I mean anybody, but as a man to smoke your best friend. Like if I accidentally smoked my best friend, couldn't do it, bro. I ain't even gonna hold you. It's one of them things where you either gotta get your mindset together, like I would continue on in its stead because of the fact that I did so wrong. So it's almost like punishment to yourself to stay alive type of thing. Or like we need to have a conversation with God in our body, bro. We gotta have a real live like talk about all of it, everything. Figure it the fuck out. Like that's not, I don't think that's something you could live with, but then you gotta live with it. You know what I'm saying? If you choose. And it seems like this man definitely takes a certain amount of repentance for what he did.
Most of my life, and there are still shards missing, but I just spent the last 5 years writing a very painful memoir. It gave me an opportunity to visit a lot of past trauma. I feel in a strong space to be a support for other survivors and create positivity in the world.
All my killing has been in the time of war, so I agree with...
Oh, military? Okay.
What I've done. Would I do it again? I would, because if I didn't kill that individual, they would have killed me or somebody else. I was a sniper, so I'm looking after a platoon of 20, 30 guys, sometimes as small as 6 guys. But I don't like strongly...
You know what's crazy? I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about military. Like, it... Because I know at least like 1 or 2 people who's in the military, and I never like asked them how that situation went. Like, how does it feel? Especially if, like I know one who's inactive, one who's active. I wouldn't... And that's crazy though, because I don't even think in my mind the way I've associated military with schmigging people off, I've never thought that they was like, I never thought of them like that. I just be thinking of them like, you know what military does. So it's like one of those things where like you understand the level of defense that's necessary for some, because sometimes I believe all that isn't necessary. I feel like a lot of it is created to it's like to create animosity between us and other people, like us as Americans and other people sometimes. But I could understand how you could have his mindset, and then I can understand how you being like strongly agree. But I feel like I know what he's about to say, and I think it's because of the fact that he had to take lives away from other people, and then attaching that to your mind to know that you were the person that pulled that trigger, I feel like that'll fight with you. Like if it was me in that position, like it will fight with me, because I went, and I almost actually went into the military. I went and took the practice test. I was in like a little PT type of, not PT, but like a little physical thing in school, and then I went to go and take the test at a recruitment office. And then when I took the little practice test, they was like I had one of the best scores they ever seen for like a person who like was just considering what to do next type of thing. And like my life literally would have went in a different direction. And knowing me, I definitely would have attempted to go active. I would have, because I would have tried to like kind of culture shock myself into being a different type of guy than I am now. That's if I think that's what he might say. I think that's what he might say. What kind of shoes he got on? I've been looking at them Jones for a minute. I wonder everybody else's story.
I agree with it because of the after effects, like what it did to me mentally. You know, I was the first person I killed. I was 18, and I didn't stop until I was almost 25. So.
God damn, bro. Jesus Christ. I was counting in my head too. Bro, spending 8 years schmigging people off, and some of them probably was close range. I think he said he was the sniper, so he had to, like, in the scope you could see people. I mean, we play games all the time. Like one of my favorite fucking Apex clips is like me shooting somebody in the face with a Kraber. Like just thinking about that and then reverbing it off to real life versus the digital characters that we play, it puts a lot of shit in perspective.
So I don't regret any of it. I don't have any bad feelings towards those individuals that I did kill. They were just protecting their homeland just as much as I would too. So I would do it again to save my life or somebody else's life.
I work in healthcare. What I do is I manage life support. So I'm the guy that pulls the plug.
Didn't even think about healthcare, bro, because I've been trying to figure out everybody's story. Damn. They definitely clickbaited me with this video, because I just saw this after I made this other one. Damn, bro. I'm trying to put myself in other people's shoes. The pulling the plug, yeah, nah. I could definitely see how them two could be in the same boat mentally, bro. I could definitely see that.
On just about everybody, so I come from a very different perspective. I have to do that for babies all the way to like people at the end of their lives. I've been doing this for like over a dozen years now, so I'm like, okay, I've come.
Damn, bro. Schmigging people off by being military and schmigging people off by pulling the plug. That, I feel like, I ain't gonna hold you. Nah, I feel like they're really similar, because they both, they get paid to do it. They both making the choice. They have to make the choice. But I feel like he has, I won't say it's easier. Nah, it's not. It's not, bro. It's not, bro. Damn, bro. It's like so much you don't think about, bro. Like you don't even think about those people, like the people who be, pulling the plugs at the hospitals, bro. God damn, bro. I can imagine he probably has a very, what is it? Like a very, like, he loves life. Like he's probably a very, very humble person. He doesn't make any waves, create no trouble. I could definitely get that from him just by the fact of what he has to do every day. Yeah, that's out of pocket.
Come to terms with what the job is. So, yeah.
The crime and how it happened, it was not, I didn't go out to kill this person. And now understanding the impact that the crime had, not only on me, but the family of that person. That was a human being that I killed over some drugs, right? And his children, his family is living still in the absence of this person. It was December the 24th, Christmas Eve night. I remember me and a couple of my friends were hanging out. This particular car came up And the passenger in the car said, hey, I want to buy some drugs from you. So I told one of my friends, I'm like, he's known to be this person that will come through the community and ask for $100 worth of drugs, but he never has the money. And the guy did exactly what I said. He knocked the drugs out of my friend's hand, grabbed his arm, and started speeding off. And my reaction at that time was I pulled out the gun and I started shooting into the car to get him to release my friend. And days later, we heard that the bullet that I shot into the car actually killed him. To that day, I will never forget December the 24th, when that happened, the day before Christmas.
I would 100% do what I had to do over again, because the guy was a serial perpetrator. He was after so many women. If he killed me, he would have went after my mom, all my family, my nieces, my nephews, every one of us, until he literally got what he wanted. I'm Tara Newell. I killed my attacker, Dirty John Meehan, in self-defense. I think it was really interesting how there was one person here who had experienced prison reform, because to me, my attacker would have been in there if I hadn't killed him in self-defense. And it's really interesting to hear about how there are people in there who are able to rehabilitate.
I immediately regretted it. 3, 2, 1, go.
Why do I strongly disagree?
Yeah.
Like I said, I was a young kid. I was 18. The first guy I killed was with a 50 cal like machine gun. I was expecting it to be like the movies where you have this like feeling of when you kill someone, and it wasn't there. I didn't really feel anything. It wasn't until like that night I had this weird dream. The guy who I shot became a ceiling fan in my room. His arms and legs were the blades. His head was the center of the fan.
Jesus.
And I watched him spin faster and faster until he tore apart. And
oh my God, Jesus Christ, what a fucking dream. That shit just hurt me in the middle of my forehead. What the fuck? Oh, nah, that's rough, brother. That's rough. Especially, you said 50 cal machine gun. I wonder if he is one of the people who, like, you see the face of the person, of the first person that you killed. Jesus, nah, I ain't gonna hold you. That's a big mental response. Like, I mean, that does say a lot about his character, though, because that means he's not the type of person who would do it without mercy. Like, in his mind, he knew that what he did had like a reverb effect, and he felt bad about it. So that's good on him.
Covered me in what he used to be, what was left of him. But no, I didn't feel anything. There was nothing like to feel. I knew that was the beginning of something that I was probably gonna have to do for a while. No attachment at the time.
I can agree with you on that. I mean, identify with that, because my first couple of years inside of prison, I detached from it completely. When people would mention his name, I would don't see him as a human being. And that was very insensitive when I look back at it now, right? But I look and say that was a way of me coping with the situation at that time.
I did immediately.
I get what he's saying. I get what he's saying. The only way I get what he's saying, the only reason I think about it in that similar place is because, little bit of a story time. My older brother, so I'm the baby of 2 older brothers on my mother's side. All of us got different dads. And my middle brother, whenever somebody hear my music, if they hear like a full tape or like a full project, I always talk about my brother. He always gets at least 1 tape. And usually what I tell people is the way that I make my music is if I have a subject matter that I gotta talk about on that tape, like if I'm talking about a girl from the past, right? And I gotta get that whole feeling off, or it's like somebody from like 2 weeks ago type shit. If I gotta get that off, I'm gonna get that off. And then I just leave that subject alone. Me and my boy just talked about this like 2 hours ago. When it comes to my brother, he always gets a song. Only reason because of that is he passed because of a drug overdose. I just watched a video earlier today. It was Agent 00 reacting to what's his name? Tommy G goes to the, what was it? The like most obese city in America or something like that. It was West Virginia. That's where he went after he came out of prison. He went to West Virginia, came back, had a whole 2-year like period of like heroin abuse, we never noticed it though. Like he would just act like himself, look at me the same way, smile at me the same way. And mind you, I hadn't seen him in this time period in like a good like 2-4 years, right? Comes back to the crib, got his own whip. If I'm not mistaken, he like 34 at the time, right? I'm much younger than him, usually. At that time frame, like he's 30 something. I'm like maybe like 20, 25, 24. So like to me that's much younger because I've always been this huge. It's always been this huge gap between me and him. He goes up to the Popeyes up the street from my mom's crib, right? My during this time frame, me and my mom was having falling out, was going crazy, right? So goes up to the Popeyes, gets drugs from the guy that he I guess he found in the area, took them in the house in the basement, and he passes that night. And then the paramedics had to get him the next morning because his son found him in the basement, right? Now I'm not gonna go too much deeper into it, but the reason I understand what that guy was saying, the second guy, is because I always think about what would happen if I came close to the guy, that particular guy. Because to me, you in the beginning of it all, you're overcome with a certain level of emotion that you want to go find shit out. You know what I mean? I wasn't even in the area at the time. I was living in another state. And my brother called me. I was at work. It was the end of the night. I was closing up my store and all this, that, and the third. He was like, bro, I just want to let you know what happened. Blah, blah, blah. He passed. And I just like shut off. I shut off. And I've been shut off for the most part since then. Right? One of the things I always thought about, because I had a time period where I could go into where he passed and I in my mom's house and I could, look through his stuff and take anything that I needed, anything that I wanted to kind of keep, his memory. And I saw like the phone number for the dude. I was like, bro, what would have happened if I went against my usual instincts and would have followed that? Same thing with the previous question with the military, right? I'm gonna tell y'all this, and I'm telling y'all this as somebody who understands it from the situations that I've lived in, the person that I've been, the person I've become. Take your time to think about every single decision at every point in your life. It really, you think that it takes a lot of time, but it really doesn't, bro. It does not take a lot of time to really give a fuck about the decisions that you make, the ways you could go, and what it is you could do. What effect does it have on everything? Society, like break it down from top to bottom. Society, the world, this person, the reverb effect of the family, and then the son, and then the daughter, the child, the brother, the father, etc. That's how most of the shit that we do even get started in the first place. Somebody get killed, and then somebody go kill that person, and then these people is mad, and this person gotta go retaliate. This person want vengeance. This person sad. You know what I'm saying? It's just a constant, and it's a constant of that. And it does not matter if you are schmigging somebody off, or if you are, I don't fucking know, if you a dickhead at work. Like, it don't matter which way. It always reverbs, and it goes to something else, and somebody else feels some type of way. So please pay attention, bro. That's my big time story time about.
I regret it in a sense where I called my mom and I apologized to her and I said, I'm so sorry, I think I killed your husband. So there was that, but then there was also the sense of like, oh my gosh, I don't have to keep looking over my shoulders anymore. I don't have to live in this fear that he's going to actually come after me because it already happened.
Sometimes family members don't agree with the decision, and that decision is sometimes taken away from them. Being called every name in the book as I'm walking in there, but if they just don't agree, and then I'm like, I just have to go do this now, But it doesn't feel good, or like I'm not necessarily agreeing with it. So I'm like, I disagree. Yeah.
The level of heartbreak that I felt immediately after that gunshot was indescribable, and I don't know if any of you have saw Red before, but I actually saw Red, and it was the most horrific thing I've ever seen, experienced, witnessed, felt in my.
See, him, I get where his personality, he probably was not like that. I feel like, cause I only reason I get it, and the only reason I said all this stuff about my brother to get y'all story time is because of the fact that when what it all came down to is once he had passed and they had, did all of the things with the proceedings of how everything was supposed to go, I've clocked the fuck out. Like, the way that he's talking, the way that he's moving right now, I would say when it comes to, like, pulling myself back from a space of understanding, like, every single emotion you got to go through, he's not done. The way he's moving and talking, he's not done. And I feel like it's one of those things where, like, I don't think that what I'm trying to say is I don't think that this conversation that he's having on this show right now is it's not like him forgetting about it and bringing it back. This is on his mind. Like, the way that he moved, it's on his mind. He's detaching even through conversation, through communication. It's not something he used. It's probably something that he talked about, but it's not something that he is completely released of, because you never know. I mean, the other dude with the locks said he had a fucking dream that the youngest body was his ceiling fan blaze. Like, that's out of pocket. You can only imagine what this guy's feeling or dreaming about.
My life. I got charged with first-degree murder that night, and I was looking at doing 35 to life here in California. I couldn't even process that. There was just so much a combination of horror and grief immediately.
I am desensitized to death. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, I was about to say, the way she was moving, the way she just smiled and looked at all, she checking out. Him, I can see him doing. I saw that almost immediately. I would assume that he would strongly agree. These three, I understand exactly what they trying to say or where they coming from. This make all the sense to me. But these two, I feel like is really on that. Like, they really on that checking out mindset, that kind of like locked out of mindset. Like, because the aspect of living is reduced because they're doing a lot less living. They just is more of a existence. It's more of a it's gonna stay attached to you. It's more of a I gotta constantly do different strategies to try to break loose from what it is that you got me attached.
Somewhat agree. Why is that?
Yeah, why is that?
I do a lot of volunteer work, and the amount of people who are dying from drug overdoses and suicides right now in the arena of trauma, it's becoming difficult for me to feel anything anymore with the amount of people that we're losing that we don't have to.
For me, it was almost like playing God, you know? I determined the time, place, when I'm gonna take that person off this planet. Yeah. And it put things into perspective for me too, that I could be going at any certain time. Like when you have to pull it, you know, you don't know when that card is gonna be pulled. So I've learned to value it more and know that it's very fragile, very frail. And to not feel anything towards killing someone would probably be more devastating to me than actually taking a life, is not feeling.
Hold on, I need to clarify something.
Yeah.
I just want to be very clear that being desensitized in no way means that I don't value life.
Oh, yeah.
It's just difficult to feel the mourning over and over again.
Yeah, like I agree with you. Like there will be certain stories that I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. But if someone just tells me like, oh, that person died of a heart attack, I'm just like, oh, okay. Like it just like there's no traumatic incident with that. So I'm like, my brain just disassociates and it's like, okay, oh, they died naturally, so.
And from where I come from, like I get to know a lot of these people. If I don't get to know them, I get to know their family members like very intimately. It's not immediate, like, oh, they're coming in and they're gonna go. No, it's like weeks, months. I've had somebody like their 5-year-old son, and he was in the room, and I'm like, I gotta take your mom away now. And it's like, After that, I'm like, oh my God, I'll go call my mom or I'll go call my dad. It's
bro.
like, it's...
Yeah, you could, he hurt. The way he just explained that hurt me. Shit. Jesus Christ. Whew. Damn. 5-year-old and
really heavy. But I feel, like you said, like a sense of maximization of like, I don't know when my number is going to be called. Because even if I'm working in the emergency room, we've worked on somebody for 2 hours and they're like, we really can't do anything anymore. And I'm like, just like that, gone. I remember this one patient, it was very much like nobody was there. They just found him on the street. He didn't even have a wallet. He was clinically dead, brain-wise, so we couldn't really do anything anymore. Me, the nurse, and the doctor just stayed in that room until his heart rate left, because we didn't want to see him leave by himself. That was one of the most, sobering moments too. It's like, as much as it was nice for us to do that, I just don't want strangers around me, seeing me off.
I think for me as a teenager, selling drugs, just hanging in the streets, just living a lifestyle that I didn't care if I killed someone. I was very desensitized. I didn't care. I didn't feel no remorse for it. And this was part of my own personal development. I needed to find a way to attach to that. So I started doing this hospice training inside of one of the prisons. And by listening to these individuals tell their story and the regrets that they were living with in their process of transitioning, it gave me a sense of a value of life now, and it shifted my mindset as this teenager who was very callous towards life at that time.
I've taken care of people, they're being on life support. They'll hang on for like a very long time till one specific person sometimes just visits them. And then I'm like, I can't explain that. I could take them off and their heart rate will keep going and going and going.
One of the guys I was working with in the prison, he wanted to see his sister. Yes. So this dude held on until like his sister walked into the room and he was like not consciously, but like she spoke to him and she started like talking to him and you started seeing him move. And then soon as she was like, I'm leaving. And like within minutes, this guy like transitioned.
Yeah, with my situation, I made him brain dead. And so he was in the hospital. And then when they pulled the plug on him, my mom literally had to tell him, it's okay to go now. And then he left.
Wow.
Some weird things about that.
Yeah.
I think we're more than just our brain, right?
We're spirits living in flesh, man. Yeah. That's all.
I am also a victim. 3, 2, 1, go.
I feel weird.
We're not trying to single you out.
But I feel like I have to be over here because the guy came after me. I was in a parking garage. I was just trying to go to the Jason Aldean concert that night. He started attacking me, stabbing me, and I fought back and I won. So I didn't ask for any of that. I honestly hated the guy and I wished he would be dead, but I never wanted to unalive or take someone's life.
My first couple years in prison, I saw myself as the victim, right? And that was, again, a way of me coping. As I continued to do some interpersonal work, I realized that I was not a victim, that I still made a choice in the crime that I committed, right? But I just wanted to share that. Like I wanted to run over there, but I'm in this place of healing and reconciliation, and I had to like move away from the victimization mindset and take ownership for the decision that I actually pulled the trigger, committed the crime, unfortunately, and someone died, and I have to take that on because that's part of my own personal growth and development. I remember on a Friday night, 3 years into my incarceration, I remember laying in my bed watching this show called Dateline, and for the first time, I heard a mother really expressing her loss for the loss of her loved one, and that was that moment in my life where I connected with that. I'm like, yo, I did the same thing, and I went into a fetus position and I started praying, and all I kept hearing hearing this voice saying, I have forgiven you. You have to ask Gary, the guy that you killed, to forgive you. And in that process, this is where I began. I remember saying, Gary, would you forgive me? And I literally felt like in that moment, he forgave me and I heard it. And it's almost like a weight was lifted off of me. And that's when I began this cleansing, this process of healing and moving forward and finding a purpose and finding my voice and all of that particular night inside of that prison when I surrendered to it.
No, I don't feel like I'm a victim for anything. Like, I chose that path. Started off wanting to be a Navy SEAL when I was like in elementary school. My mom helped me make my first ghillie suit when I was in the 6th grade. Like, it's something I've always wanted to do, and
he was in there.
I knew it came with that, which was more than likely having to kill someone, especially in the time of war.
Yeah, I'm not a victim, but the only thing I would say is like they don't really prepare us into doing the job that we do. They do the day-to-day thing. Oh, this is what you do, this is what you chart, and all that stuff. And then now you're like, oh, by the way, the doctor wrote the order. Go take him off. And now I gotta walk in, or like if it's a baby, they're still holding them in their hands and stuff, and like go take them off. And so I never really thought about it. Like nobody's like talked to me or anything. Like, by the way, this is where you're gonna feel afterwards, or like when you get home after you clock out and everything like that.
Yeah, we didn't have a handbook on that either. Like, yeah, they teach you how to kill, but there's no
how to process
it.
That's
I
crazy.
have profited from the murder. 3, 2, 1, go.
I was about to say, most of y'all should, because
Make me feel bad about this.
Something called murder.
That word's kind of
Strong, yeah.
Yeah. Blood money.
That's what I'm thinking.
Why don't you like that word? I don't like it
All
either.
right, I don't think it applies universally.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely,
Homicide is a universal term. As far as profiting from any part of my story, no. I've spent the last 5 years struggling to write and publish a book, and I've spent about 80 G's on it and made about 4,000. And that's not why I did it. I did it because I want to help people, but I don't think that it's very common for people to profit off of recovery from stuff, right? Well, maybe it is. I don't know.
I guess I'll go over here then. My attacker, my show got made into a podcast called Dirty John, and then it got made into a documentary, a TV show on Bravo, and now on Netflix. And so I felt like I've been exploited in the sense because I did not make anything off of the podcast. Although people think I profited off my story, I did not.
But also, and you get paid to take his life?
No, not at all.
Okay, so if you profited off of anything, if I profit off of anything, it's my hard work afterwards.
Yeah.
It's my hard work to share and be of service. So no, you didn't. People hate profit. Sometimes they just hate you just because you made money.
Yeah.
For me, as a speaker and a trainer, I struggled with that for a long time, right? You know, I committed this crime, and yes, I did all of the work that I have done to become the man that I am today. But then sometimes I don't sleep at night, right, knowing that I've made this bag of money or whatever. Any money I get, I want to be able to live comfortable. It's not about getting something in luxury. How could I help some young person? So we do the nonprofit work. But my 5-year goal now, or 10-year goal, is to use whatever profit I make is to create a foundation in honor of Gary. Going back to that promise I made to him almost 30 years ago inside of a prison cell.
It initially started as me writing a journal. My dad suggested I did that. I was going through a hard time, self-medicating and contemplating some bad decisions. Started off as that, and it got picked up by a major book publishing company. And it went on to become essentially like an autobiography of that time in. After accomplishing that, I went on to what I do currently, which is write, novels and stuff like that. Not based on my life, because I did feel a certain way about it, of profiting from killing, I get what you're saying too. All the work that you put in there after.
Oh no, I get how like he did profit from it, but I also think that maybe the exact the way that his lifeline went was like it was planned like by whatever spiritual entity he believes in. It was planned that way for him. Like that was how he was supposed to. Like he was supposed to go through the pain to prosper. I think that's what that is, because he said they weren't. The autobiography, and then from the autobiography he went into noveling, and I don't know, I kind of see that as like one of those things where like his dad told him to start a journal and it lined up in his favor the way that he would want it to, but it was through his pain first.
That's on you, but I also see it as, well, I killed all these guys and I wrote a book about it. and profited from it.
Were you an E4 or E5?
E5, yeah.
That's all the money you made off
Right?
Once again, complex issue that gets lumped together. If somebody has money, they must be doing something for
bad,
profit.
yeah.
And I think where an answer is, I mean, do we follow purpose or do we follow the money? Mm-hmm. It's going to go away when I die. It's not going to matter. Yeah. What's going to matter when I die is what I did. Exactly. Am I proud of myself for the things that I did?
I often see money more of like as an amplifier for what people can do, what reach they can do.
Yeah, what you can make impact on now, like knowing like when I go speak to young people today about gun violence and about my story, the only way they can get out of a situation is if I have money.
Yeah.
Right? That I can create a safe space for them to go after school. So I have to make some money to be able to do that, you know what I mean? But I don't want to make a bunch of money and I'm living here and then I walk into the community and say, hey, young kids, put the guns down, prison, say no to prison, and then I drive away in this nice car and forget about them, right? So that's where I'm at. Like, purpose for me is about how do I make impact in the lives of the people that I serve.
Taking a life was part of God's plan for me.
Yeah, I see. I wonder. Damn, they asked good questions.
3, 2, 1, go.
I want him to think about his lineup. Yeah, think about how it transpired.
I'm unclear with that one. That's why I'm like this.
You're on the other side.
Yeah, I wouldn't be who I am today to be able to have the experience that I've had and become who I've become without taking a life. I learned my lesson after all the killing. You know, my last deployment dropped over 30 guys, 33 people, and who knows how many before that. But what I had to get through and overcome to stand here today far exceeded anything I've done in the military. Being emotionally somewhat strong and what I've had to overcome. There's been a lot of dark nights where didn't think I was gonna be here, you know?
Why I'm like this?
Yeah, I know what you mean though, yeah.
I don't want it to be perceived to be insensitive about the victim.
Yeah.
Right, but I know on this part of me, I look at my friends who I grew up with at 19 years old, and I did 22 years in prison, and when I came back home, they were at the same spot under the same tree we sold drugs at. But then if over here, I think about the Gold Dingers family, because their son is like, oh, God destined my son, my brother or my son to die. You know what I mean? So. But
if you believe in God, then that would be, he already knew that before you
I
were
get
born,
that part.
You know?
I mean, I'm a spiritual man, right?
Yeah,
but I'm
same.
just like, it's just, that's my dilemma when it comes
if
to
there's a God, I don't think that he's letting some kid be blown apart in Iraq because he's busy helping me look for a parking space, right? I don't think that the realm of the spirit is as concerned with human affairs. Absolutely. I think that the sun rises and sets for a reason. It rockets through space at 40,000 miles an hour with a bunch of rocks around it for a reason, and animals have instinct for a reason, and I think human beings,
free will.
It's a little different.
Free
and
will.
I think things just happen sometimes. There doesn't have to be meaning or a plan.
But then it's hard for a person who lost a loved.
That's an interesting way to think about that. I see what he's saying though. Because it's different sides of the spectrum. Like, I think he's at least from what I'm getting from it is like not everything that you do has to be connected to whatever your plan, the plan of whatever entity you believe in. Not everything relates to the goals that entity has for you, that particular outcome that you have. Now, I would say for these people, whatever the things that transpired in the way that they did, these were all plans. This was plans of something above. And the only reason I say that is because I think it depends on the things that you believe that are significant in your life and what they have done to shape you. Like, okay, so to take this guy's point, this one right here, to take his point about like not worried about what parking spot you get, but depending on what that does, you could get into the store a little bit sooner and you can get out of the store a little bit sooner, and then maybe somebody attacked the store right after you left. But because you found that parking spot, and you know what I'm saying, I think that like it's a really hard thing to like make sense of, because I'm the type of person that thinks like almost everything happens for a reason. I usually, like in one of my songs, I think I said something like, it's either a lesson or a blessing. I always think so. And the only reason I always think so is because, in my personal opinion, I believe we live on a sort of, I got really interested in this when I started reading Avengers versus X-Men, and like watching the Flash and seeing Arrow and seeing them tie into each other. I can honestly believe that for me, and the way that I see things for me, myself, my friends, etc., everything works on like a multiverse kind of spectrum, right? So the way I see it is, you got your one line and you got your other line, right? You got your two lines. And in those two lines, you have different outcomes on each line. on those different outcomes, if I'm living on this one, and this other version of me in the Twilight Zone multiverse spin-off upside down 360 type of world is living the other version of my life. So the way I see myself in my mind, the way I want to see myself, the things I want to see and prosper. The only difference between this line, which is, I'm going to call it the better line, and the one that I'm currently living, or this particular, you know, like let's say in this particular time frame at that moment, I'm in a rough patch. This version of me is in a very good place. The only difference between those two lines is that you yourself cannot connect to that other line. And the only way you can do that is through your thought process to engineer or to move your life or to start to understand your life more so that you can hit that version of an upper echelon. However, we've heard it all the time. Good comes bad, yin comes yang, sun and rain. It all is sun and dark. It all sun and moon. It's always going to be 1 and 1, right? So at the time period that the version of me has transitioned to the upper, in that same instance, now that I'm in the upper, and let's say that upper lasts for like a week or two, there's something that's going to come and bring me back to the lower, or we're going to switch places again, you know. And the reason I say we are is because the way I see it for me is that there's this version of my mind, so the mind that I use now, and then there's the other version of my mind, which is me going higher into thinking, because I believe that a good portion of what we go through, and a good portion of just our lives, life, living, surviving, existing, whichever way you want to spin it, in any of those moments, the only reason that those things happen the way that they happen is based on thought. It's really just based on, like, a lot of life is just based on thought. It's based on thought and action and reaction. Some of the things that we choose, we don't want to admit, but it's bad for us. It's that girl that you like that you knew you wasn't supposed to like, bad choice. That and this is not me shitting on anybody who might be single with a child, but just saying, that person that you were with that did you wrong, that you probably in the back of your mind a little bit, kind of sort of in your subconscious, you knew that person was not good for you, bad choice. That job that you chose, or that particular avenue that you chose, that put you in this position where, like, damn, bro, I'm working at an office right now, but I always really wanted to be an astronaut, and I'm kind of bummed out that I waited too long, and now I realize at this point that this dream is, you know, something that I just kind of squander away because I believe that I'm too old to be able to do this thing or fulfill my dream. Bad choice. It just depends on you and the reaction to the way that you think about you, how you see yourself, the way that you want to persevere. Do you want to be a person who has discipline? Do you, you the type of person that's scheduled, or you just going to say fuck it and rock with it? It just depends on the person. And so I do get what he's saying, but this is the reason that it's such a type of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just going to be that way. It's just going to be that way. It just depends on how we see it.
Loved one to wrap that. For me, my homicide is completely different than most of you in this room. Is someone died by me pulling this trigger, and I can't say it was in God's plan.
I pulled the trigger too, and I thought the gun was empty, and I still can't wrap my head around a stupid decision like that. Even though that it malfunctioned and acted unloaded, had I done all the right things, the 4 safety rules, it never would have happened. And I was nervous coming here because I don't know what I was thinking.
I knew it.
I wasn't thinking.
I knew it. I knew that's what it was. I knew he didn't completely separate from that particular instance. That's a hard thing to. It's hard enough. I'm sorry, y'all. This is gonna be more of a talker than a watcher. But it's hard enough to have. It's hard enough to live your life for however long you've lived it, and maybe not gain one best friend, one person that you could say through all of this shit. At every point, I believe that this person has my best interests in mind, and they believe that I have their best interests in mind. And I honestly do. That is hard enough to obtain. To be able to, because I tell my friends that all of our friendships are relationships. It just depends on how you flip it. This is one of them things, like, I live by this code. For me to call you really a friend of mine, all of my friendships are relationships. So all the guys that I know, the reason that I know them is because of the fact, in some magnitude or another, we've been through something together. I used to tell a lot of people, like, if I can't get drunk with you, I'm probably not going to trust you, just because I release myself. Well, I used to release myself when I drank. I don't really drink too much anymore. So now everything else relies on me just being honest with whoever it is that interacts with me. I don't have time to waste, bro. None of us have time to waste. So when it comes to my friends, they know, like, I don't have time to bullshit. I don't have time to waste. We gonna either get it together and figure it out, or it's probably one of those instances where we just gonna die off. Now, I do have one friend. I used to call him my amigo friend, but, like, he's honestly just become like a brother. And we've gotten into situations where, like, we've just sat in my mom's basement when I was younger. We just sat there and cried about life, about all of it. It's still to the point, it's like one of them situations where, like, you don't wipe the tears away. You just sit there and you just, whatever it was in your life, whatever it was that got you here, you just eat it. You gotta accept it. You know what I'm saying? And he's the type of person where, like, he can go away for 2 months. We don't gotta say a word to each other. I know what type of shit he going through, and he knows what type of shit I go through, so we just don't even gotta talk about it. That is different. But I know that at a moment's notice, if he needed me, I'm on my way. If I needed him, he's on his way. That's a different level of friendship. But, like, my closest friend, the youngin' I've been a friend with for a decade, and I met him in a place where, like, I really probably needed the guidance of another person who makes a lot of fucking sense. That person is the person where, like, all our friendships are relationships, bro. We got ups, think about it. Really just think about it. Like, you could think it's gay, you could think whatever you want. But really think about that shit. Think about all your friends. Think about your acquaintances. Think about the people that you fuck with, like your ride or dies, your go hard youngins, like the youngins you really bang with. Have you ever said to one of your best friends that you love them? You ever said you appreciate their company? When it's you and it's 4 other men in the room, are you able to tell each one of the men what value they bring to your life, and why is that person here? Why do I think that this particular, like I told you, the multiverse line, why is it that you got put in my line? What was it that you were supposed to teach me or help me with or break me out of? What habit I needed to break? But that habit was something I can only hear from you, because I only can really lock in when you speak. Think about that shit, bro. That shit is not easy to obtain, and it's definitely not easy to hold on to. Friendships, like, women be thinking like men's friendships be on some cool shit. Not all the time. But our discernment for one another, and our trust for one another, and our honesty for one another, our love for one another, that shit is something that you cannot get back. And because we know that we have minimal time on this earth, and at any moment one of us could go, knowing that information and using that information to be like, all right, bro, whatever happened, fuck it. That is something that is hard to find.
And I had no intent at all. There's no way I would have as soon put it to my head. Or at the floor, or whatever. And I can't remember ever doing that before or after. And it was a mistake.
I think for me, it was part of my dharma. I'm a little bit more spiritual, so I think it was my life's purpose, to be honest. Because of what I do today, whenever I speak, I always have people contact me and say that they left an abusive relationship, or what I shared helped them get out of their attack.
Sharing your story helps other people, and
Yeah.
you feel that.
I call it transparency transports people.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like really honest about who I am, because there's someone else, not just in a physical prison, but an emotional, mental prison. And by hearing your story, hearing all of our stories, it helps transport them to another space of showing that I can't escape this particular prison.
After having this discussion, Lester, choose a side.
Really?
Can't make you.
I'm just gonna say, I don't think it's fair to make you choose a side. You believe what you believe.
I'm gonna stand just a little bit over there. Please, like respectful.
I really like what you did, man, because we move in seconds and inches.
Yeah.
We measure progress in like
I'm
miles
right
and
here.
years, you know?
That was kind of a lot.
What's up?
This episode was just sort of intense, and I think I need a little time to debrief now.
Life's got you down bad, huh?
Yeah, just a little, sometimes I need a big hug or some reassurance that everything will be okay in the world,
Here, try the skylight around, which means that your new
For me to heal. 3, 2, 1, go.
Wait, before we even start this. Enough resources for you to heal? No, I don't. I don't think so. I think that anything, it's all of it's hard. Any form of between these 5 people, it's hard. It's hard. I don't think there'll ever be enough of something that it's gonna help you. Excuse me. I don't think that there's ever enough of resources that are going to help you heal. Because think about it like this, right? I would say one of the most common resources I always hear for situations like these, or just anything like heavy trauma or anything like that, is always medication is like the biggest one. Medication and therapy are the 2 biggest ones. I've been to a therapist before. That man did not give a fuck about me. Okay? Could have just been the wrong one. Could have been the wrong time. Could have been the way I viewed it. However, there were no real questions that he asked to probe and to interrogate the feelings out of you that are locked away. Because the way I see it is that if I was a therapist, right, I need to have a series of questions about the particular incident to be able to ask you questions that are going to challenge you. My goal is not to coddle you. That is not the goal of a therapist. But it's also not a therapist's goal to just let you run rampant and not try to gain some sense of like grasping you, controlling you. If it was like my homie, right? Because I will say me and my friends are like we're in a universal process of healing from just different things, and there are a lot of things we just don't chat about, right? Like my homies will never bring up my brother. They just won't swing that way towards me, and it's not out of like anger or anything like that. That's just one of them things like we don't chat about. Or like, I don't know, I had a high school situation with a girl and children, and she chose to choose her route on what she wanted to do with her body, and that to me is that's heavy for me, and of course it's heavy on her. But now she has a son. That's something they would never bring up when it comes to me. Those kinds of situations, and just like I have to choose exactly what I say when I say it, because there are things about them that I would not want anyone to know. There's just things we won't chat about. But we do use each other for therapy when we have those particular instances where we really need some help and nobody else gets it. I don't know. I think even sometimes we're like, but like what I was trying to get to was that when we get to those moments, like when we all link up, we all chilling, usually we go do something, right? So like go play pool or something. Not too much money, ain't no one person gotta dive in, investing or whatever the case. We talk about that shit. Something's coming from it. We're getting some sort of solution because of the fact that it takes those challenging questions to pull those particular answers out of you. It's never. Think about it. If you was doing it and it's just you and yourself, bro, it's not gonna be easy. The level of meditation, the level of inner work, the level of focus that you have to be able to ask yourself those questions and then go inside of yourself because you actually have the answers. You just choose not to have them because you want to block it out, or you want to be a victim, or you want to, whatever the case may be. You can do inner work therapy. Regardless of that, that takes a level of giving a fuck about yourself and your spirit and your existence that a lot of people do not have. You just don't have the strength to do it, and that's okay. But at some point, it's going to start knocking at your door, and you got to start figuring out what the fuck that is. When it comes to medication and therapy, that's my standpoint on therapy. Medication, bro, I saw this one video on Instagram, and this one video was about they put a bunch of pills on a baking tray and put the baking tray in the oven. It was supposed to simulate the stomach and show what the stomach acid does with the medicine. The medicine takes forever to break down, which means you don't get the full benefits of the medicine. Then you got people who like go towards herbal medicine or, changing your diet, doing the workouts. Those situations take a lot more doing and a lot less talking. Like, you can't just that because to so many people it's believed to be the easy way out, bro. That shit is not the easy way out. It makes shit harder down the line. When you think everything is better but your body fucked up on the inside, like, what does that do? I tell my mother that shit all the time. I used to tell my mother that shit all the time, right? She was like taking shit for her gut and taking shit for her liver. Mind you, my mother has not had a drink since she was 16 years old. She is now, 71? She started taking like heavier medicines when she was like, at least from what I know, because I don't know too much about her, maybe like, I say like 40, not like 42, 44 is when she really started locking in and just like listening to what everything the doctors got to say. Bro, taking the herbal route is not a scary path to take, just because of the fact that, one, if you want to, fucking try it out. You ain't even gotta go crazy, like hard in the paint like that. Just fucking try it. That's number one. Number two, it won't hurt you the same way that the chemical mixture, the fucking smorgasbord of things that they just like 0.5 of this, fucking 1 milligram of this, that fucking mixture is going to do to you. It is going to have a more adverse effect because your body, I believe a lot of things we didn't come into the world with certain things. Like smoking cigarettes, hitting jacks. We ain't never come into the world with that. We might not need it. You know what I'm saying? But you came into the world with your body. Your body is your temple, but those chemicals are not things that came with you. A lot of the stuff that you could build and a lot of the stuff that the body produces, you came in with that. So of course you want to ingest something as close to that as you can possibly get from the earth, bro. Telling you, bro. Resources, not enough resources for me to heal. In my situation, I don't think I'm completely healed from it, but I also don't, and this is just me, my opinion. I don't think I need to right now. I don't think this is the time for that. I think this is the time to use that as fuel to want to make sure that everybody good, so that we don't gotta go through them situations. We don't gotta go down bad where we, I got family who diving into drugs and doing this, that, and the third. I've seen it a few times in my family. I've seen a few things in my family. I don't want to see no more of that shit. So if I can, everybody need to be good if I can help it. But get everybody to a point where they good and not taking from my kindness versus me being nice. Me being nice is just, making sure everybody good because I can. Being kind is making sure the people that I make sure are good because of the fact that I know that at some point in life they gave something to me. My mother We ain't on the best of terms. She gave me life. At some point, I need to be able to reimburse her for that life. If it comes out as monetary, that's fine, because emotionally we can't do it. But if I can at least make sure that she is monetarily safe and secure, that's enough for me. You know what I'm saying? My best friend gave me wisdom. It's in one of our songs we made together. Towards the end of the second verse, I was like, we're brothers and uncles and dads and all of the shit that we lack, or putting it simpler, all of the things that we cannot get back. That's the simplest way of me putting it in a lyric, that we take care of each other. So if I get it before he get it, you damn right I'm making sure him and his family, his new family, like his legacy is safe. Because his legacy right now in my life is my legacy. Everybody's safe, bro. That's all if you really think about it, if it's any men watching this, y'all, we just want to be safe, bro. You really take it and break it down of like point by point by point of what it is that you really want. You want to be safe. I'm done. Hopefully for the rest of the video, I said enough.
When I was in the military, it was like looked down upon to go seek mental help or anything. Dude, you'd get kicked off the team, in a heartbeat. I don't want a guy who's soft watching my back, or what I perceived at the time to be soft. Yeah. After each deployment, our therapist was like a 18-wheeler truck full of kegs of beer and more beer. And 12 hours ago, I just took a life, 21 years old, at a strip club in Atlanta, drinking, till my eyes pop out to cope. We would talk to like a psychiatrist, but we were encouraged to write down, I didn't have this emotion, I didn't see this, so we could get home early to see our family. But 2 or 3 years ago, I decided to talk to someone and figure out why I was the way I was, because I wanted to change. I didn't like being, everywhere I went, I'm looking at everyone and it's gonna sound so bad, but.
Here's one thing you need to do before you buy anything online. Don't spend another dime on Amazon until you watch this first.
Watch this. I can show you how to get the sweetest deals online when you shop from major retailers like Amazon and Target. You can drop prices automatically.
I was polite to everybody who I met, but I always in the back of my mind had a plan to kill them, just in case the situation presented itself.
Bro, I don't like the way she acted. That was it.
Something went south, I've already mapped out and planned for 3 different scenarios how I would kill this person. And I was comfortable being in that state of mind because it kept that protection, that wall up. But it gets tiring after a while to always be that way. You know,
for me, I look at this, right? I want to run over here to the strongly disagree. It's almost because of the length of your sentence, and like I was serving life, I didn't become eligible for most of the classes in prison until I came down to my last 3 years in prison, right? Now I have to run back over here to strongly agree. After being a person who's been released from prison, I've learned these different things that now help me to cope with all of the stuff that comes with me.
I think this whole question there depends on situation. I feel like his situation and what happened afterwards are different. Like what he did to get him into prison, and then how his reform was activated and the different resources that he had. I feel like it's different on situation.
Living inside of a prison.
Situation and mindset too, because your mindset can be trash, and then whatever the situation is, it could turn into a trash situation just because of your mindset.
And not only being a person who took someone's life, but seeing other individuals get killed inside of the prison, right? You see people get stabbed in prison over some of the simplest things. No one would come and talk to you about, like, was that triggering for you? Wow. How did you saw this person blood spill out over the concrete? Nothing, right? This is why I challenge the prison system and anyone who works in that prison environment to create more mental health services for those in prison, because yes, that person may have committed a violent crime, but we don't know their story.
I'm like that with the military, man.
Yeah.
There's not enough, in my opinion. Yeah. It's not encouraged enough, yeah.
The VA helped me somewhat, right?
The only reason I can say I agree with the strongly disagree side, I want to say I was 18 and I had just come out of the mental hospital, And my mother came to get me. We took the bus, and when we got back home, I walked up to my room, which was right next to the restroom. I walked into the room, and two of my friends was there. My roommate from high school who helped me get through the particular situation I was in, and then his cousin, which we all called each other brothers. And the cousin, me and him was really close because we would hang out after school more and stuff like that. And he was like, "Bro, how was it? Are you good? You okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." And then my mother told them to go outside, go stand outside, or sit outside for a second on the porch while she talked to me. And the one sentence she said was, "You did it all for attention." And that immediately flipped the switch. I looked at her with a baffled face. She turned around, walked out the room, and it changed the way that I saw things. So I didn't want to go to therapy because I knew it wasn't going. I already had that particular mindset that in my household, in my family, because we're African American, we don't believe in that. That's not necessary. That another big one is that's white people shit, bro. You could call it whatever you want, bro. I don't give a fuck what your skin color look like. We're all just people, and if we're all people, we all feel. Okay, people keep acting like we don't feel. I'm reading a book right now of Mastering the Art of Stoicism, and even in that book, I think I'm on. Oh, the Little Book of Stoicism. I'm on page 24. This is what the book looks like. Y'all like my bookmark? John dope as shit, right? But that one I keep with me every day. On a ride to work, I pop a page open. Before the end of the day, I try to get one page a day. Try to get back into my reading bag. In that book, where it's at right now, it talks about your emotions being like a snarling wolf, and looking across from you as the wolf. You need to decide how you decide to handle that particular wolf. Are you gonna kill it? You gonna calm it? How are you gonna how you gonna handle it, right? In this book, the analogy of the wolf is related to your emotions, and they talk about how Stoics may look desensitized, or when you speak to them, they seem like they're desensitized, but in reality, it just takes a lot of mental control to be able to be a Stoic person. And a lot of people don't like that. Even I said this was my last time stopping, I'm sorry, but it's not. Even in my work life, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you changed at work because you don't smile anymore, or you don't look a certain type of way anymore." When I originally came in, I didn't have a lot of information about the place, and me operating in that particular way it's a more open and freer version of me until I get a full amount of information. Once I get information, we right back to where I was before I met y'all people, which is I'm locked in, I'm focused, I'm here to work. It's more of a doing versus I don't let my thoughts wander there. It's time to focus, work, let's get it done. And that work also requires me to interact with other people, but I also don't believe in lying at this point in my life. I try to be as honest as possible. I always ask people. I'm pretty much an open book because nothing in my life is something that I won't say that I'm not scared of. I believe we all have fears, but nothing in my life is something that you can harm me with if you use it against me, type of thing, right? It's very hard to be Stoic, and it's very hard to gain resources because the resources have to depend on who is around you and if they're the type of people to push their values on you. So my mother, religious person, right? Or semi-religious. She don't really do too much church, but she's semi-religious. And when I was growing up, 10 into my teens, it was always a back and forth religious battle. But it didn't have to be one because I just wasn't somebody who associated anything with any other thing. I believed in something. I believe in God or energy or whatever it may be, but it just doesn't have to be your version of that. You have to understand that like the a big effect of this, like what they're talking about right now, are there enough resources to heal? Some people rely on their family, and some families will use that particular moment of weakness against you. You have to be very conscious of those types of things. And it depends on situation. It does depend on situation. It depends on what you're going through, how you feeling, how you plan on handling the snarling wolf, right? Because depending on the way that you handle your emotions, that is going to link into situations and reasons. And then you have to be like the gentleman back here, where he had to go to prison to learn everything that was going on. His initial intention wasn't probably to kill the dude, but in that moment he's desensitized, but he's also thinking with emotion. Those two are combating with each other, and his choice and response to that was to fire upon the car.
I'm not going to say the VA didn't help, but when I was suicidal, I didn't call the VA helpline because I didn't want to sit here and fill out a strongly agree and disagree form and wait in a waiting room. And I called another brother, and he sent me to a program called Save a Warrior, and I experienced something, it might sound weird, called initiation there. The participant faces their own death, and they receive a transitional object. And something about that changed my psyche, and something clicked. And we did stuff like the ceremony for the dead there, where we write the names of the people we've lost and the people we've killed, and we get to cry and feel and process and become human again, because war can break us, and prison can break us and make us incomplete and not human. And when we use different modalities to place that humanity back together, then we can have community, right? And community is the antidote to a lot of human suffering.
Yes, sir.
I wrote a 12-step program for vets and first responders called SPARTA, Suicide Prevention and Resilience Training Anonymous. We meet once a week. And I used to think there wasn't enough resources, and the more I get involved, it's not that the help isn't needed, it's that there's abundant ability to create resources, right? And once we break that, we start to be the creator of it, we create the small nonprofit that serves the area. It's like the Matrix fails, you know? That was long, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Well, I have to apologize for chuckling when you said that part, because I was like, oh wait, I have a plan to kill people too, unfortunately. And then I used humor as my trauma response sometimes. So I strongly agree that I have the resources and the tools I need, because I'm gonna forever be on my healing journey, and I'm always gonna look for them and find them. However, talk therapy, I don't think is very beneficial to a lot of people. I think that a lot of therapists need to learn about the nervous system, because a lot of what we went through, we had to use our fight response. So I had to learn how to calm my nervous system to get to homeostasis, to the baseline.
It's like, as a person of color, it's like growing up as an immigrant, it's more like it is what it is. When you things happen to you, it's you don't really oh yeah, go see your therapist or anything like that. Especially working through the pandemic, I have never seen that much death in my whole life, and I've been doing this for, at the time, 10 years. And this was before the vaccine, and I'm I don't see the end of this tunnel yet. For me to quit the job would mean other people would die. And for me to continue this job, meaning I would die. And then that was the first time I'm I really don't know what to do right here. And that's the first time I'm wait, there's this thing called therapist. Maybe I should go talk to one. I wish it was more readily available and accepted at the same time, because none of my friends go and see their therapist. And I can completely tell them, you wouldn't have certain amount of issues if you just kind of worked on yourself in a different way. Or maybe not therapist, but a different way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, coaching.
Right here too, again, I want to run over here, right? Went in prison at 19, walked out, I was 41, into a completely different world, right?
Wow.
So now, my organization, Path to Redemption, is that I want to provide that service. How do you cope with when you walk into a grocery store after 20 years, and you walk in the self-serving line, you got to swipe that card, and you don't know how, or you walk through a line and it beeps, right? And you thinking that it's going to be tackled by the police because they think.
He just brought up a crazy ass point. I'm glad he said something towards the end of the video, because that ain't even touched my mind, bro. His culture shock has to be insane. His diving into a completely new world compared to what he's used to is crazy. Damn, you gotta get new cards. You gotta get probably updated, birth certificate, date, ID, license. Damn, you gotta think about that shit. That's a crazy one right there.
Think you're stealing something, right? And this is why, like, you and I, individuals, can create that.
You're gonna be made.
I'm running over.
All right, so there is not by any means enough space to talk about, like, I was a foster kid, right? So I got raised in poverty and abuse and negative relationships. So what did I do when I grew up? I created poverty and I created negative relationships, right? And that type of a wound, it's such a cultural taboo that there's not a space to talk about that and the impacts, and then what do we do and where do we go from there? So
come on back over here. You got me feeling kind of. I was saying I wanted to do it, right? But I think that's important, man.
And everybody in this circle is a wounded healer and also a servant leader, right? So when we see a gap and something that's needed, it's not just us. So that's where a tremendous opportunity is to create and be of service to other people like us.
I would say it was dope talking to y'all, like learning the different angles of, because I was kind of like skirmish about that title Killer, but listening to all of the different facets and challenges of it, I really appreciate it. For me, I go back to South Carolina and go back into the Department of Juvenile Justice and work with these young people. This is what I want to take back, right? Like this, I want to take that.
Same boat, man. A lot of preconceived notions we have about people. I might look at you a certain way, and never would have had a clue that there's a commonality or something we can all relate on and learn from.
It's not every day you get to meet someone that's taken a life, or, and for me, it's made me feel alone at times and not be able to be understood by people because of the emotions and stuff that we have to go through.
I agree.
That was dope. I like that one. That was it, yeah. That was dope. That was dope. I could appreciate that video. I could definitely appreciate that, John. That was hard.
We was making up at the light. We was just trying to get through the night. Keep moving tight. Got a feeling that something ain't right. Have you ever held on in your life? Would you leave it or put up a fight? I have a wife, and I wonder if she be alright. Big bro, you got hit in his temple. It's still on my mental.